OCD and its potential connection to autism. Plus, I've got a fascinating new study to share with you. So let's go. Welcome. It really is so good to have you here watching this video. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm Orion Kelly, that autistic guy. I'm all about helping you raise your level of understanding, acceptance, and appreciation of the autistic community. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, you're welcome to come and join my amazing community. Subscribe to my channels, Orion Kelly, that autistic guy, and Orion Kelly podcasts. OCD and its potential connection to autism. Before we get into all that fun stuff, and I share with you a fascinating new study, let's start with what is OCD. Now, OCD, as you probably already know, is short for obsessive compulsive disorder. OCD is a mental health condition characterized by a pattern of unwanted thoughts and fears, obsessions, that lead to repetitive behaviors, compulsions. So these obsessions and compulsions interfere with day-to-day activities. They can absolutely be time-consuming, all-consuming, and significantly impact your ability to function in your day-to-day life. OCD can often cause a great deal of anxiety and exhaustion. Interestingly, OCD affects about 1 in 40 people at some point in their lives. And again, characterized by disturbing thoughts, obsessions, and repetitive actions, compulsions. Initially, OCD was actually viewed as an anxiety disorder, but is now seen as a distinct mental health condition. Believe it or not, the exact cause of OCD is actually still unknown, but it has been suggested that risk factors include a combination of genetics, neurological, behavioral, cognitive, and environmental influences. Let's explore some of the key characteristics of OCD, and we'll start off with the characteristics around obsessions. These are intrusive, unwanted thoughts, images, or urges that trigger intensely distressing feelings. Common obsessions include fears of contamination, having things in perfect order, aggressive or horrific thoughts, or worries about harm coming to yourself or others. Okay, I think there's a connection. The second key characteristic of OCD is around compulsions. These are behaviors that people feel compelled to perform in response to an obsession. So we just talked about the things around obsessions. They in effect trigger these compulsions, these things you feel like, these actions you feel like you have to perform as a result of those. Common compulsions include excessive cleaning, hand washing, checking things repeatedly, counting, or performing certain routines or rituals. Hey, let's break down those characteristics of OCD and talk about some of the key symptoms. And just as a starting point, I think it's really important to note that OCD is more than just being tidy or preferring things a certain way. OCD is a serious mental health condition that, as we've said, can have a profound impact on a person's life. So, to the symptoms of OCD, which usually fall into 4 main categories. Category number 1, contamination and cleaning. So from an obsessions point of view, we're talking about symptoms like a fear of germs, dirt, or contamination in general. And from a compulsions point of view, we're looking at things like excessive washing, cleaning, or avoidance behavior to reduce the fear of contamination. As we go through these symptoms, if you're autistic and they start to really resonate, don't worry, because we are going to talk in just a second about the potential overlap and a fascinating new study to look into that, which you may want to be a part of by literally doing the questionnaire and going, wow, okay, this is intense. The contamination one is interesting, right? Autistic people can have a real preference for ideal circumstances. This shirt is too tight, or this shirt is too sweaty, or I got water on my pants, or I don't want to touch that because it's dirty, right? So this contamination, cleaning, can be something that autistic people can really resonate with. But onto the second category, as we do key symptoms of OCD. And this one, I reckon you probably already know. When you think about OCD, what do you think about? Symmetry and ordering. So with symmetry and ordering, from an obsessions point of view, we're talking about a need for objects to be arranged in a certain way. So symmetry, even perfection. Don't move that. That's exactly where it's supposed to be. The compulsions part of symmetry and ordering. Arranging, even rearranging items until they feel just right, or performing tasks in a symmetrical or ordered manner. Man, potential overlap, huh? Potential? Category number 3, more key symptoms of OCD. Let's talk about forbidden, taboo thoughts and compulsive actions. This is really fascinating, this one. Okay, so the obsessions part, we're talking about intrusive, unwanted thoughts, often involving themes like harm, sex, religion, or morality. Compulsions, including rituals or actions performed to neutralize or counteract these thoughts. What does that mean? Well, things like praying, counting, even repeating certain phrases. You mean like echolalia or palalalia? I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before, but when I do things, I count. So for example, if I'm stirring something, I drink, for some reason I count the stirs. I've realized there's no goal number, but I always count. So let's say I'm making a drink, right? Or a coffee or something. And I'm count 1, 2, in my head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 seems to be a good number, but I actually count in my mind under my breath when I'm doing actions. I'm getting a little bit freaked out, I'll be honest with you. Let's get to the next and the fourth and final category when we talk about key symptoms of OCD. We're talking about harm and checking. From an obsessions point of view, harm and checking is things like fears of causing harm to yourself or others, either accidentally or intentionally. And the compulsions part of that is checking behaviors, such as repeatedly ensuring that doors are locked or appliances are turned off to prevent perceived harm. I'm taking a breath. This is really fascinating to me. I'm going to talk about the potential overlap and this fascinating new study. You probably want to do this questionnaire like yesterday, but just think about that. I always think about this kind of stuff, like how people could be hurt or be harmed, but accidentally, or like in certain situations. And I'm like, I can be like the harm police. Are we not using that toy again? No, it looked like you almost did something that could have been harmful, so that toy's gone. I'm banning this movement, banning that song, this area, this. You see what it's really interesting. That's so. But I have to. It's not like I'm doing it to be bad. I have to. I have to remove, and I don't mean like put it up on a shelf. I mean I'm throwing that toy away. You're never seeing that again because I can't do. Anyway, I guess I should shut up now and we should move on. But it's just blowing my mind. So that's our whirlwind whistle-stop tour of OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. But now the fascinating stuff, my friends, the potential overlap between OCD and autism, and a pretty interesting new study you might want to check out. As we've talked about OCD, you may have already drawn potential overlaps between potentially, I said potentially so many times. You know what, leave it in, between potentially you as an autistic person and what you're hearing about OCD. Okay, so let's dive into those. Let's talk about some of what we would think would be the potential connections between OCD and autism. Fair enough to say, there does seem like there's a connection or an overlap in behaviors. So similar behaviors. I mean, both conditions seem to include repetitive behaviors. In fact, both conditions seem to include repetitive routines as well. So they both include repetitive behaviors and routines, a key diagnostic criteria of autism. And it was also noted when we talked about OCD that a change in routine is also distressing for those with OCD. So, man, there's lots of connections and overlaps. There's lots of similar behaviors there. I'm not sure what the finger wag was for. Let's move on to the next one. Social challenges, connections, overlaps. What did you think? I can't hear you. No, talking louder, I can't. No, so this is a video. You can hear me, but I can't. Stop talking back to me. The key, in my opinion, connection here is that challenges in social interaction seem to be common in people with OCD and autistic people. The other one that really jumped out, I reckon, was this. Well, we call them special interests, right? These focused interests, intense interests. Obviously, that is a hallmark of being an autistic person. But in fact, and you probably heard this before, that intense interest or intense interests that autistic people have can actually resemble an obsession or obsessions. And I'm not talking about any kind of like obsession. I mean, our intense interests can actually resemble OCD obsessions in their intensity and their focus. A couple of quick thoughts before I give you the details in this study, which you're really going to want to check out. I've looked at the questions, this questionnaire thing, and it's brilliant. Anyway, we'll get to that in a sec, but just a couple of thoughts on this potential overlap between OCD and autism. So the symptom overlap actually hints at potential commonalities in brain function or development. Final thought is distinguishing between repetitive behaviors, and I'm talking repetitive behaviors for an autistic person, and OCD compulsions is actually pretty critical, pretty crucial for accurate diagnosis. A challenge for neurodivergent people who are often underdiagnosed or misdiagnosed. I want to share with you a really fascinating new study. Now, I've had a look at it. I was just legitimately so fascinated. I was hypnotized by these questions, probably because a lot of them felt like home to me, and it never really occurred to me. And the idea, like we just talked about, that OCD and autism are potentially connected, well, how can't that be fascinating? So I'll tell you about this study. I've got the link in the description of the video. If you want to go to the study, look into it, read more, do the questionnaire, be a part of it, great. If you don't, that's cool too. I'll just tell you a bit about it. So the Autism Research Centre at the University of Cambridge is currently conducting a study, and both autistic and non-autistic people are invited to participate, to be a part of it. This is where it gets interesting. The study is actually trying to figure out how certain skills and autism and OCD might be connected. Skills, autism, OCD. What are you talking about? Okay, so let's talk about these skills. We're talking about skills the study refers to as systemizing. Well, it's a grease of lightning. So these skills, called systemizing, are all about understanding or making systems that follow if this happens, then that happens rule. So on the premise of a rule, if this happens, then that happens. Why is it fascinating? Well, the study says, this is not my mind, this is what I'm saying it from the study. It says autistic people often have a strong knack for this sort of thing. The rule of if this happens, then that happens rule. Now, this might explain some of autistic people's unique traits and strengths. So what's the study doing? So the study will look at how well people do in a task that tests their systemizing skills. Then clearly, the study will compare how autistic people and non-autistic people do in this task and see how these skills relate to a particular type of OCD where people are obsessed with things being symmetrical. Now, the goal is to learn more about how autism and OCD might share some common features. That's the study. It's looking for a really diverse range of participants as well, okay? So we're talking aged 16 and over. So if you're aged 16 and over, if you're autistic or not autistic, if you have other conditions, co-occurring conditions, really looking for the most diverse range of people to be a part of this study to get, I guess, the best possible understanding, more depth, right? And that's a good thing for the autistic community. No pressure, no stress. I've got nothing to do with the study. I'm not linked to it. I haven't been a part of it. I haven't participated in it. I'm simply providing you with details on OCD, its connection to autism, and this fascinating new study looking into it to see if that's something you want to be a part of, look into and participate. So you can take it or leave it, my friends. However, if you are interested in learning more or you want to participate, the link to the study is in the description of this video, which you'll find in the description of the video. It's somewhere, I guess, below me. Click on more. Just click on more. No, not that one, the other one. I definitely want to do another video actually going through the questionnaire of that study because I've had a look at it and there's some fascinating questions that really resonated deeply with me. So hopefully we can do that in another video. What do you want to talk about in an upcoming video? I'd love your topic suggestions. Just put them in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate your support. Until my next video, we'll talk soon.